Hey, welcome to Shofar Mountain. I'm Pastor Joe Fox, and this is Brother Sam. That's good, right?
Yep.
That'll work. All right. Um, I figured I'm going to do a mini teaching. I was going to do one on head coverings, but I wanted to talk to Sam about Tzit-tzit, and so I figured we could do it both at the same time. All right. When I first came to Torah, and I was trying to explain it to my church, this one guy, it was standing room only. They were like all mad at their pastor, right? Mm-hmm. And one guy was leaning up against the wall, and I remember it. And he goes, "What's next? You're going to have us all wearing Tzit-tzit?" And I said, "I don't know," because I didn't know anything about Torah. I just knew we were supposed to keep it, right? And so I said, "I don't know. What's that?" And he goes, "Numbers 15. And it's what the Messianics wear on their breeches. It's the strings the Messianics wear on their breeches." And I'm like, "I don't know." And so let's go to Numbers 15, because I went home that night. I read this, what I'm going to tell you about today, and y'all, and I made myself easy. All right, so Numbers 15. What is that noise? Oh, it's the goat? Maybe? All right. Life on the mountain. All right, Numbers 15. Oh, I put a piece of paper there. So this is a pretty cool story, and we'll start in like Numbers 15:32, verse 32. And it says, "While the children of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man that gathered sticks upon the Sabbath day. And they found him gathering sticks, and they brought him to Moses and Aaron and unto all the congregations, and they put him in ward," that means in jail, basically, tied him up over there or something, "because it was not declared what should be done to him." And so the first thing we got to understand is when it says that they found this guy gathering sticks, what's the big deal about that? What's the big deal about him gathering sticks? And so keep your finger here because we're coming back here, but go to Exodus chapter 20. Exodus 20, verse 8. Exodus 20, verse 8. Are you there?
Yes.
So it says, "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of it says the Lord thy God in English. It's Yahweh thy Elohim. In it thou shalt not do any work, nor thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor the stranger that is within thy gates. In 6 days Yahweh made the heaven and the earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Therefore Yahweh blessed the Sabbath day, Shabbat, and hallowed it." So you can't do any work on the Sabbath. You can't have your servants do any work. You can't have anybody who's inside your gates do any work. So we can't here on Shofar Mountain let somebody come spread gravel or pour concrete or bring his dozer in and chop down trees on the Sabbath. And so that's the fourth commandment. So we flip back to Numbers. This guy is working on the Sabbath day. Now it says he's gathering sticks. Now there's a whole lot of discussion about what kind of sticks they were and what they were for, and that really isn't germane to what we're doing today. So the bottom line is they catch this guy working on the Sabbath. They bring him to Moses, Moshe, and Aaron, and they say, "What are we going to do with him?" And so between verse 34 and verse 35, you can tell that Moses goes and communes with the Father. Right? Because it says, "And the Lord said to Moses, and Yahweh said to Moshe, the man shall surely be put to death. All the congregation shall stone him with stones without the camp." Because you don't want to kill somebody in your camp, so you take him outside the camp and you kill him. "And all the congregation brought him without the camp, and they stoned him with stones, and he died, as Yahweh commanded Moshe." So they killed this guy for picking up sticks on Shabbat. And that's what Yah told them to do. It's an important commandment. So, Yahweh spake, verse 37, "Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, Now, do you think that God has their attention? The Father has their attention, right? I mean, he just said, go kill that guy. And so they go kill that guy. And then he goes, all right, Moses, now I want you to go talk to the people and tell them this. They're listening, right? They just saw what happened to that old guy. They're paying attention. Bid them that they make, now it says in the King James, fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put upon the fringe of the borders a riband of blue. I'm just going to read the whole thing and then come back. And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that ye may look upon it and remember all the commandments of the Lord, of Yahweh, and do them, and that ye seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, after which ye used to go a-whoring, that ye may remember and do all my commandments, and be holy unto your God, Elohim. For I am Yahweh your Elohim, which brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, Egypt, to be your Elohim. I am Yahweh your Elohim. It kind of says that twice so that people understand. Dude, I'm God, right? You know, I am the Lord. I am Yahweh. Now, so he says, go talk to the people of Israel and tell them to put fringes on the borders of all their garments. And those fringes are Tzit-tzit. That's the Hebrew word for it, Tzit-tzit. Now, we're going to come back here, but I just want to, so keep your finger here. Go to Deuteronomy 21. Put your finger here. Go to Deuteronomy 21, verse 12. You too. Deuteronomy 21, verse 12. All right, and it says, it's just kind of a reiteration. That's Deuteronomy, the second telling. You shall make fringes upon the four quarters of thy vesture, wherewith thou coverest thyself. All right, that's the same thing. That's Tzit-tzit. Now here it says the four corners of your vesture. Back in the day, I wish I had a big piece of paper. They wore these poncho things, man dress things, and basically it was a long rectangular cloth with a hole in the middle, and you put that over your head. You know, you put your head through the hole, and then it hangs down the front, it hangs down the back. So there's four corners, and so they put tassels on the four corners of this garment. And you could put a belt around or not. You know, it's like a Jesus robe, right? And so they're like, hey, you guys are going to do that. Now we go back to. I have to deal with that goat a little bit. Go back to Numbers, because it's the same thing. They're talking about the same thing. And it says, make fringes on the borders of their garments. What's it say in verse 38? For how long? Until you figure it out?
Throughout the generations.
Right, so throughout their generations. Has Israel's generations ended? They have not, right? Israel's generations continue. And if you are an Israelite, if you are following Yeshua and trying to keep Torah, whether you are blood-born or grafted in, you are Israel, and your generations haven't ended. So you have to put fringes on the borders of your garment because Yah said so. That's the number one. You know, it's like they say it's a terrible parenting. Why do I have to do that? Because I said so. But the bottom line, that is why Yah said so. So we have to do it. It says throughout our generations have not ended. And it says that they put upon the fringe of the borders a riband of blue. And you and I just look up ribbon in here. And ribbon is basically, it could be used for twining around, for winding around. There's different ways you can interpret that. But the bottom line is this fringe has to have some blue in it, right? Right. And I'll come back to that blue in a second. Well, yeah, I'll come back to the blue in a second. Now, in verse 39, it says a reason why we're supposed to do this. And what's the first reason? Verse 39, what's that say?
To remember all the commandments of the Lord.
Right, and do them. And so, the first reason he gives us for doing this, besides he told us so, is that do this so you remember the commandments. So that it's kind of implied, it's kind of, maybe this old dude, they're kind of new to these 10 commandments. And so he kind of forgot he's not supposed to work on Saturday. And so he's out picking up sticks. And it's like, man, maybe if he'd had some Tzit-tzit, he'd have remembered when he looked at them, oh, yeah, that's right. I'm supposed to keep the commandments of Yah, and I'm supposed to do them, right? I'm supposed to guard them, and I'm supposed to do them. So that's the first reason that we're supposed to do it. Remember all the commandments of Yahweh and do them. And then it says, and, so this is another one, that you seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, after which you used to go a-whoring. So it's like, hey, don't be doing what you think is right in your heart. Don't be doing what you think is right in your own eyes. Look at what those got you. Those got you going after, whoring after all these other gods that you're not supposed to do. So just do what I told you to do. Put these Tzit-tzit on so that you remember my commandments, and don't rely on your own understanding on this. He said, just go, your own heart, your own eyes. That you may remember and do all my commandments. So we've already heard that. But then look at the next thing. And be holy unto your Elohim. And you and I talked about that yesterday. The word holy is kodesh, to be set apart unto your Elohim. And so you get the impression not everybody in the region has fringes on their garments. And so this is going to make you set apart unto Yah. This is going to differentiate you from other people. People will be able to tell that there's something different about you because you are holy, you are kodesh, you are set apart unto Elohim. So that's kind of another reason that you're holy. And then he says, I am Yahweh your Elohim, which brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your Elohim. I am Yahweh your Elohim. So that's it in a nutshell. But then there's, because we're humans, and we really like to mess this up, you see all manner of Tzit-tzit or not out there. Some people, for whatever reason, think, well, I don't have to do that one anymore. Okay, well then let's just start cherry picking all the other commandments in here we don't have to do too. I don't have to do that anymore. I don't really want to do that. That's not convenient for me. I'm not going to do that one. It's ridiculous. It says throughout your generations, it says do it. I am Yahweh your Elohim. I am Yahweh your Elohim. Do it. So that you remember the commandments, that you keep them, that you do them, and don't trust in your own eyes and your own heart. And so you see people out there that wear white tassels, right? A lot of them wear white tassels with blue in it, with blue in the tassel. And if you look on the internet, you can, which I did when I first came to this, you can find all kinds of really interesting YouTubes on how to make Tzit-tzit, right? And you braid it this way, and you use 7 strands, and one of them's blue, and you twist it this way, and you wrap it, 5 times, 6 times, 10 times. You tie this knot. Some people even say at each wrap you say a prayer, at each knot you say a prayer. Tie your knots this way. Do all these things. Does it say any of that in here? No. It says wear fringes, have a ribbon of blue in it. So that's one. Number 2, does it say what color the fringes have to be? There's a ribbon of blue in the fringe, but what color is the fringe? Is it white? It doesn't say that.
Right.
It doesn't say it's a white fringe. It can be any color fringe. Make sure you got a ribbon of blue in there. Make sure you have a twining thing of blue in there because Yah wants us to have that. Now there's another argument, and I think a lot of Jews hold to this. You'll see people wearing white Tzit-tzit with no blue. Well, it clearly says in here, have a ribbon of blue. So where's the blue? And also that blue, if we look that blue up in here, that blue could be kind of like a violet blue. So it could be kind of like a blue or a violet blue. I'm colorblind. Violet and blue look the same to me, but there's a good argument to be made for that. But there's a lot of people who don't wear either. It's just white. And they say that's because the only place they could get this color, violet blue, this royal color, was from these particular snails in this particular body of water. And they made the blue out of that, or the violet, whatever. And those snails don't exist anymore, so we can't do it anymore. And so, sorry, not going to wear blue. Does he say where to get the blue? Does he say, get the blue from this snail? No, he doesn't. Does he say, get the blue from this rock that you can grind up and make blue, or this plant that you can grind up? There's lots of ways to make blue, right? And so I think that's a bad argument also. He says, put a ribbon of blue in there. He wants blue in our Tzit-tzit. But it can be any other color. Let's go to, because you see, so how long are your Tzit-tzit and how do you wear them? I had a guy one time when he first told me about Tzit-tzit said, this is how we're going to wear these so that in the end times, people will recognize me as one of the true believers, right? And so I wear my Tzit-tzit. And he wore Tzit-tzit down to his knees, right? They like hung down from his pants down to his knees. So let's go to Matthew 23. We're coming back here, so keep a finger there. We'll go to Matthew 23, because Yeshua, Jesus, had something to say about that. Matthew 23. All right, I guess I got it. I'll just start in 23, verse 1. And then spoke Yeshua to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat, in Moshe's seat. There's another whole teaching here that I'm not going to go into. And therefore, whosoever they bid you observe, that observe and do. But do not ye after their works, for they say and do not. So basically he's saying the scribes and the Pharisees are a bunch of hypocrites, right? So don't act like them. Don't do what they do. Verse 4. For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and they lay them on men's shoulders. But they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. All right, so these guys are so two-faced. They're so hypocritical. And then we get to verse 5, which is where I wanted to go, but we had to know who we were talking about. But all their works they do for to be seen of men. They make broad their phylacteries. That's another teaching. And they enlarge the borders of their garments. That's talking about their tzit-tzit. They have really big, huge tassels. Look at me. Look at how holy and kodesh and set apart I am. Look at how much of an Israelite, Hebrew, Torah observant guy I am. Check out my tzit-tzit swinging down by my knees, yo. I mean, come on. You know, the tzit-tzit, we go back to Numbers 15, it says, so that you remember to do my commandments. Keep my commandments and do them. That's the number one reason. The overarching reason is because Yah told me to, right? But it's so that you remember to do my commandments. So it's not to show to all these other people. He does say that I'm setting you apart, right? I'm making you holy unto me. But that holy unto me, that's holy unto him. I'm making you different than everybody else. That doesn't mean your tzit-tzit need to be dragging on the ground, right? It's just like, hey, nobody else is doing this, but you're going to do it. Whether people see it or not is immaterial. Right? People don't have to see your tzit-tzit. You got to know you're wearing your tzit-tzit. You got to see your tzit-tzit. And it's got to have blue. And I've heard the argument, and it's a good one. It's a really good one. Pastor Dow did a study on it. That the Israelites wore fringes all around the bottom of their garment. And then they had like a ribbon of blue in there. But like their whole garment was fringed. Almost like you're not nearly old enough. Those of you who are as old as me, you remember back in the day when we'd wear Levi's, they were like flares, and then you'd like fringe them out on the bottom. So they were fringed all the way around the bottom of both legs. It was a thing that people did. So they would do that with their garments. They would have like a fringe all the way around the bottom of their tunic or whatever. And I saw Pastor Dow had a shirt on the other day, like a work shirt. It's a good-looking work shirt that somebody had sewn fringe all the way around the bottom of, and then put like a ribbon of violet on there. And it looked really cool. And I'm thinking, I want to do that. Right, yeah. So that's a pretty good argument. But then the other argument is they also wore those garments that I described, where it's basically the big rectangle of cloth with a hole in the middle that you put your head through. So you do have four corners, and they would hang 4 tassels off of there, or the prayer shawl or something like that. It's got 4 corners, so you put 4 tassels on there. Okay, well, I don't have any 4-cornered garments that I wear. I don't walk around wearing my army poncho anymore. Do you wear any 4-cornered garments?
No.
There's actually a rabbi's teaching out there that because we don't wear 4-cornered garments anymore, we don't have to wear tzit-tzit. Right? That's a teaching. I say that's bunk. Right? That's garbage. Is the purpose of this, if you go back and look at number 17, is it to have your 4-cornered garment adorned? Or is it so that you remember the commandments and don't end up getting stoned to death like that old guy over there? The overarching purpose is that you remember the commandments and do them. They happen to be wearing square garments at the time, therefore put them on the 4 corners. Right. Okay, well, we're not wearing square garments today, and there's no Torah commandment that you wear square garments. And so we're wearing garments. Are we still supposed to remember the commandments and do them? I submit, yes, we are. Are we still supposed to wear tzit-tzit? Yes. Well, I don't have 4 corners. Do the best you can, you know? So you see a lot of people will use like little clips like these little D-rings here, or snap links or whatever. Can you see that? Like that. And then they'll make their tzit-tzit like this. And this one has the wraps on it. I made this one. And it's like for the number letter combinations for Yud Hey Vav Hey, right? So it's like, and I should know this, but I don't think it's that important, so that's why I didn't look it up ahead of time. But it's like 10, 5, 6, 5, or something like that is the number of wraps, because that corresponds to the letter Yud Hey Vav Hey, YHWH for Yahweh. But this one, you can see these are my Shofar Mountain tzit-tzit. And I just made them out of like green and brown and tan, and then I put blue on them, right? Because you got to have a ribbon of blue, and see how it twines around, and that kind of like that's what ribbon means. And so I wear these on my pants, but actually I have my going to town pants on because we're getting ready to go to town and do something. And so when I'm working, a brother from Texas gave me what I call my working Tzit-tzit. Right? Because the problem with these is this one's already starting to break. See, you can see these strings are breaking right here.
Yeah.
My strings are starting to break, and it'll end up falling off, eventually. Because when I work out in the woods, I live out in the woods, you see, the woman and the kids and the dogs and me. And the thorns catch on it, and it gets all caught up. And I used to have longer fringes on here, and they were all kind of falling off. And so I use work Tzit-tzit, which I don't have any here with me because I have my going to town pants on. But I made you some that are just like his, the one that my friend gave me. And so you can have these. It's wrapped with blue. Some people are like, oh my God, that's like paracord. What are you doing? Hey, you know what? It's got fringes on the bottom. It's wrapped in blue. And it doesn't say how much blue. And it doesn't say anything else about other colors, and so these look very similar to the ones that the guy made me. And these things are rugged, man. And what I actually have done, I used to wear them on my belt, just run my belt through it like that and hang them, and you can't really hurt them out in the woods. But what I ended up doing, because when I'm in my work clothes, I always have my holster on, I just girth hitched this to one side of my holster, and the other side of my holster, like that. And then these two I have hanging on the snap link with my knife. Right, so I've got my fringes on the four corners. I don't have corners. Yeah, I get that, of my pants. So here, this is a gift for you, brother.
Thank you.
You can have those. And I hope that kind of cleared it up. I think you should be wearing Tzit-tzit because God said so. And so all your own little ideas and what your heart thinks and what your eyes say, that's led you astray before. God said to do it, just do it. My whole thing with Torah is if he tells me to do something, I want to do it. If he tells me not to do something, I want to not do that thing. To me, that's pretty simple, and it's what I used to tell my kids when they were kids. You'll get along with me a lot better, you'll do a lot better if you do the things I tell you to do and don't do the things I tell you not to do. We'll get along just fine. Obedience brings blessings. And I might as well go there because I kind of like this story, but I'm not going to go there deep. It goes right into chapter 16, Cora, and the rebellion of Cora, which you all should read on your own. And what happens is there's all this murmuring going on in the camp, right? And you get the feeling that this old guy that was gathering sticks, one, he probably forgot, really, that he was supposed to keep Torah, right? Because that's why we now wear Tzit-tzit, so that we don't forget, so that we remember. So there's kind of a correlation there. And the other thing you get is a lot of people probably like this old guy because people get mad that he's dead now. Right? It says the whole village went out. People are still mad that we stoned them. And we stoned them under whose authority? You could say under Yah's authority, but really the people are personifying Moshe. Moshe's the one that told them to do it, right? God said, take this guy out and stone him to death. And so they get mad and they leave a rebellion. And then he follows that up with, all right, that's it. We stoned that guy now. I want everyone to go make fringes and put them on your garments. And for Cora and his band, that's the last straw. It's like, you're not the boss of me. Who are you to tell us what to do? Yada, yada, yada. And it's a really cool story in 16. Y'all might want to read it. So, Tzit-tzit. Go get you some. Go make you some. Don't stress about all the little mumbo-jumbo, prayer here, not here, twine here. I mean, if that's what rocks your boat, fine. Knock yourself out. But you don't have to do that. Just make yourself some fringes. Make sure they have blue in them. And start wearing them. One more thing. What if I work in a place that I'm not allowed to wear them? There's people that have uniforms, right? And they can't wear them. You can do a couple things. You can put them on and tuck them inside your pants. You can put them on your t-shirt and tuck your t-shirt in your pants and no one knows, right? Use safety pins or something. There's a thing, a talit. It's like a mini square four-corner garment. You can wear that under your clothes. You're wearing. The purpose of the Tzit-tzit is to help you remember to do the commandments and keep them. And it also sets you apart. It's holy unto Yah. So work it out, figure it out. You don't have to have them dangling. You certainly shouldn't have them dangling down to your knees. All right. I hope that was helpful. Yah bless y'all, and I'll see you out there.